Okay, well, we'll get started. Well, good afternoon and thank you for joining us. I want to begin by thanking our sponsors, three incredible corporate citizens who are just always there for us. Thank you to B4 Networks, Desjardins, and Durwood Jones Barkwell and Company, LLP. I also want to thank members of our organizing committee, Marissa Brown, Sarah LaCharity, and Kevin Reels. Thank you for helping us to reimagine this event. It is such a pleasure for me to be able to welcome you all to our annual President's Awards. We've experienced a very different year with challenges, opportunities, and some real fears. As a community, we have risen to the challenge, and while there is still work to do, today we celebrate. We celebrate our strength, we celebrate our compassion, we celebrate our tenacity, we celebrate each other. This year, our President's Award event is different. We're not all together in the same room sharing a pre-dinner cocktail. We're not going to enjoy a meal together, and we're not going to be giving out individual awards. Instead, we're going to have a conversation with some special guests who are going to share their experiences over the past year, as well as their thoughts as we look to the future. Joining us today are Kim Cole, Executive Director of Child's World Family Child Care Services of Niagara, Ritesh Malik, developer, Preston Fraser, Port High student and Broken Spoke volunteer, Dan Bouchard and Judy Aarts, Meridian Credit Union and Wainfleet Farmers Market champions. We also welcome our mayors, Mayor Steele from the city of Port Colborne and Mayor Gibson from the township of Wainfleet. Welcome, everyone. All right. Well, I think Kim, since we're gonna let your secret out. You are at the cottage. We are going to start with you.
Sorry about that.
No problem. No problem. So this past year, parents' worlds were flipped upside down. Parents were working from home. Some were essential workers. Their kids were at home as students. Many, many different scenarios. How did this impact childcare? What were you seeing?
Well, like everyone else, we closed in March 2020 for those couple of weeks where we were supposed to, everybody was just going to be closed down for a couple of weeks, and then it kept going and going. We were able to open some of our centers in around July of last year. We opened a few in July and then moving forward. So for right now, childcare is extremely busy. Anyone that's able to be open, their rooms are full, their centers are full. And moving forward into the summer, it is extremely busy. And I think that might have an impact because a lot of parents might not be using a lot of their vacation in the summer. They might have already used it when the children were off school. So some centers have been able to operate emergency childcare centers as well. We started operating an emergency center in Niagara Falls probably about 2 months ago. So that center will operate until the end of June, till school is out, and then we'll start our summer care after that. So right now for us, we're busy. Our biggest problem right now is human resources. I actually spoke to my management team yesterday, and I think for the first time that I've been with the Child's World in over 30 years, we're actually at a crisis. We don't have enough educators to fill our spaces, to help the children, to work with the children. They're burnt out, they're tired, like everyone else. But that right now is what we're focusing on. But the children are resilient. They're just, their parents have to drop them off at the door. Parents are not allowed in the centers. And that was one of the big things that the educators were really worried about, because we were closed for so long. And then all of a sudden a parent had to hand over a child to someone who was going to take them into the classroom. So, but the children did amazing. They learned the rules really fast because we have a lot of rules, a lot of guidelines, a lot of cleaning, a lot of PPE, and just, activities that your children used to be able to do together, like all play with Play-Doh or all play in the water table. They're not allowed to do that anymore. It has to be individual. So a lot of changes, but everything's been working out really well.
Yeah, what comes to mind is, little kids, how do you keep them safe? Like, what are some of the things that you've had to implement besides you can't do group activities? Are they wearing masks? Or is there, what?
Certain age groups have to wear masks, but not the little ones. Some of them want to, and we let them if they want to, because, they have an older sibling or they see everyone else wearing a mask. So sometimes they want to. Some of the educators have done activities where, you make your own mask out of paper or, whatever. They're just, you still have to hug them. You still have to care for them. You still have to, if they're having a rough day, you, excuse me, you still have to do all those normal activities. The educators, they have their masks, they have their goggles or shields that they have to wear every day, except for during meal times, for their own mealtime. But the children, they're just, it's almost become a norm for them.
Yeah, I think so many things that we're now doing, have become habit, and it sounds strange, but it'll be hard to break those habits at some point as well. I want to talk a little bit about the labor, because we're hearing the same concern from different sectors as well. But in childcare, I mean, you need the people there to care for the kids. Is there something that you guys are looking at? Is there a strategy to try and tackle this moving forward?
At this point, we can have what we call non-qualified. So that means they don't have their early childhood diploma, but they may have a schooling or a diploma in some kind of child-related field. So we're looking at that. Right now, it's really difficult because the students who went to Niagara College and or Brock, everything was virtual. So there wasn't that, face-to-face with their professors. Everything's posted on what they call Blackboard at Niagara College. So we don't know. We're not, whoops, sorry. Sorry about that. We're not getting the resumes, and we just had 17 resignations in the last 2 weeks. So they're moving forward to other jobs. They don't want to be in childcare anymore. It's not an easy job. It's kind of a thankless job, except for the children. So they're burnt out. They're just tired, and so they're moving on to different fields, and it's very unfortunate. But
is that a high number, 17?
That's extremely high.
Extremely high.
Extremely high. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, that is challenging, but our children are important, so we want to make sure that they've got the best care. And I know that you're always advocating for that too. We'll come back to you. Okay. I want to move on to Ritesh. Ritesh, you have made quite the investment in the city of Port Colborne. Tell us what you have done so far. Why Port Colborne, and what has that experience been like for you?
Okay, to start with, good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. And you said, how did it start? So I think it was love at first sight. I mean, like all other immigrants, when we guys come to Canada, first thing we do is we visit Niagara Falls. And, on a couple of my trips to Niagara Falls, I would just randomly deviate and go try and look for newer places. And I landed in Port Colborne about 5-6 years ago, and I just loved the vibe of the place. I thought it was sleepy, but like a sleeping beauty. So we started looking for things, and I came across this parcel of land on Main Street. Some broker who was trying to sell it, and I just envisioned something. Like at that point of time, a lot of people told me, you are envisioning something, too big for Port Colborne. Like, you want to bring in national brands for food and whatnot, and you want to do all sorts of things. So, but, I think I was kind of confident and clear about what I wanted to do. We had some hiccups. I would not say like city right from the day one supported us in all our endeavors. I remember Mayor Maloney, he did whatever he could for us and everyone else in the city. But it has been a good experience. We divided the whole development into two phases. Phase one has a gas station. It has a A&W with drive-through. We have a pita pit. We have a convenience store. We have a car wash, automatic car wash, hybrid car wash, like the kind of car washes we have in GTA. I mean, we offer 6 kind of car washes, like both touchless and soft touch. I mean, we got the best of the machine, which is used in Europe and, Mercedes and Audi plants. So what I want to say and share here is, lot many times when we go to smaller cities, we think that, we want to give them what they have or equivalent to what they have. But I always feel that, we give them the best. They want it, they need it, and and there is always a demand. Like, say, give you a case, I have a lot of developer friends, and every developer has a different mindset. So a lot of developer friends of mine, when they would go to a small place, and if they are, say, setting up a car wash or something, they would look at something basic, or they would look at some second hand stuff. They say, this is small place, we don't want to make that investment. But I have personally seen that giving them the best. I mean, like, our car wash, I mean, the numbers are as good as any busy location in GTA. Like, people come from all across, like Welland and, Niagara. I don't know where all they come from. And at times, they would patiently wait 40 minutes, 45 minutes to get a car wash, which you won't see in GTA. So, like, besides, whatever, I mean, also, I need to tell you, we still haven't, made any money, like, with the kind of investments we've done. But I would say, more than, the money part of it, or, making money, the happiness I actually get when I go to that property in Port Colborne is, when we were interviewing people, like Port Cares, they extended all the help and support to us in terms of, finding right people. But our thing was, we only wanted to hire local people, right? Because when we go into a new community or a smaller community, the purpose, besides the development, or making money, we can make anywhere. As a developer, what Canada presents, money can be made anywhere. But when you go to a smaller place, the whole group of investor group we work with, they also have that very in their mind space and in their heart, that corporate social responsibility is very strong. So besides making money, they always want to see how uh, positive impact they can create with whatever we are doing. So, when I was interviewing people in Port Colborne, I really got very emotional, in the sense that lot many people came and they say, I've been applying for, like when you ask them, where do you work? He would say, I don't work anywhere. Why? For past 5 years, I've been trying to find a job. I've applied at hundreds of places. There's no work for me and whatnot. So I think the real happiness which I have seen in whatever phase one we've done so far is when I see 20, 30 local people working there with, fixed jobs, the kind of change I see in their life, in their lifestyle, in their attitude, in their personality, in their character. You give them responsibility, they are happy to take that responsibility. They go that extra mile when they are doing their job, because they value that, what they have got or what they are getting. So I think overall, I would say, there were some delays, in the sense, when we went into, and it has nothing to do with city, in terms of, I feel we all, need to find out ways where we can make development more developer friendly. There are a lot of bottlenecks and bureaucracies, and a lot of procedural hassles. I mean, like, NPCA almost took 2 years to approve the project, although we were zoned, we had usages, we had everything. But, like, we were going back in circles and circles. So I don't see that as a delay to myself. I see that as a delay where 30, 40 people were denied jobs for 2 years, right? They could have been on job 2 years earlier, but because of all those delays, that could not happen. So, I mean, besides, how it affects developers balance sheet, I mean, I would like all of us to think from a different view or a different perspective, that if developments are more developer friendly and are, can be done efficiently and in lesser time, that helps smaller communities. I exactly knew what would happen. Like, as I said, at first sight, I realized the potential Port Colborne presents in Niagara region. But, you need few things which basically can attract other investors, particularly like in our South Asian community. We are very closely knit. So if I do something, 20, 50, 100 people are watching me and they want to know why I'm doing it. What am I doing it? So I personally, and Mayor Steele would probably agree. I mean, and I've been saying that right from day one, the day we put shovel in the ground, we have something, you will see a lot of South Asians getting interested, investing in Port Colborne, looking at opportunities and whatnot. And this is exactly what has been happening. I mean, I know personally so many people who bought lands, who've been contemplating doing different sorts of projects. And I mean, overall, I would say, I mean, it has been a great, satisfying experience for us, and we look forward to continuing, working in the whole region. As I said before, not just Port Colborne. Like, of course, Port Colborne would be our first love, but yeah, we are open to exploring opportunities in other Niagara region municipalities as well.
Wow. Well, that sounds like a great love story, and we'll get to Mayor Steele shortly because I'm sure he wants to respond to some of that. But thank you. That's incredible, and it's becoming tougher and tougher for people in Niagara to live in their hometown and work in their hometown. And so, thank you for creating those opportunities for our local residents in Port Colborne.
No, even, the phase 2, which we have in planning, I mean, I think in that phase, probably we would have about 100 to 120 new jobs, like the kind of businesses we are targeting. I mean, we are working with the best of the people in the industry. We are targeting a lot of national brand tenants. We are in negotiation. So we are hoping to start building that sometimes next year. And I can't disclose, but we have some really good brands under the belt for phase 2 as well. We are in the process of acquiring a few other properties in Port Colborne as well. We recently acquired an industrial project. We are starting one industrial condo project in Port Colborne pretty soon. We are working on one more residential development. So, I mean, I feel Port Colborne is a great place, just like any other place in Niagara region. And as you rightly said, we need to create opportunities where people can, live and work in the same vicinity.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Mayor Gibson is going to want to chit chat with you after this session. So be forewarned. All good. Thank you. We'll move on to Preston. Preston, you're a student at Port High, and your academic year has been quite different. Can you tell us a little bit? We'll start with a little bit about your experience with school this past year.
Okay, yeah. So this past year it's been all online for me. It's been tough, but after just doing it over and over again, it's getting a lot easier.
So you were able to get back into class at one point. I can't remember if it was September, I think, until the Christmas break you went back.
Yep.
And so you had a little bit of in class. How was that in class portion for you?
That in class, you're just always wearing masks. You're always sit down. You can't go near anyone. So it was a bit tough, I'll be honest.
Yeah, and I don't have kids in high school anymore, so I don't know the details. I don't know for sure, but were you certain kids went a few days and other kids went other days so that you weren't with your whole class? Is that right?
Yeah, so how it went was the school was actually split in two. So there was a cohort A and B. Then it would be like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, one cohort would go. Then the other 2 days would be the other cohort. Then it would just switch back and forth between those 3 days.
Yeah, so not really seeing all of your friends,
No.
learning in a different way. So fair to say no extracurricular activities?
No, nothing.
No sports teams, no debate teams, no school band, none of that.
Nothing.
Yeah. So that would have been challenging for sure. You're not graduating this year, are you?
No, I'm in grade 11.
Okay. Okay. So you've got another year. It's got to be awfully tough for those students who graduated last year and are graduating this year, because they really, it's so sad. They miss out on so much. Yeah. So no extracurricular activities at school, but you managed to keep busy. You volunteered with the Broken Spoke program, which is a great program in the city of Port Colborne. Can you tell us a little bit about the program itself and your experience, what you did?
Yeah, so the Broken Spoke program is designed to teach just students how to get a bike from like landfills and donated bikes and make it into just a bike for transportation, like for people in need. And like when these bikes are finished, we just give them back to the community. They go to anyone that comes in, needs a bike, no cost, you just give it to them. And that's just how it really works.
So this past year, we've heard that there's been a huge increase in people who want bikes. So did you see that with your program, that there was a great need for them?
Yeah, when I was in school, we were getting bikes like quite often. We would get a nice load every day, like a truck full. And yeah.
So what did you do? Like, were you actually repairing the bikes?
Yeah, I was repairing bikes, and actually from repairing bikes in the that program, I actually ended up getting a job in that field. So I'm now a bike mechanic at a store.
Fantastic. So a bike mechanic. So you would fix the gears and you would fix the bike chain that always seems to fall off and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly that. Brakes, disc brakes, all tires, everything.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And so you've enjoyed that experience?
Oh yeah, I love it.
Fantastic. I know that, this past year in particular, without our volunteers, many of our communities would have been in very, very rough shape. And so thank you, Preston, for, volunteering at Broken Spoke. I'm sure you did an amazing job. And like I said, we can't do it without the volunteers in the community. That brings us to Dan and Judy. Now, you guys both work at Meridian Credit Union in Wainfleet, but you also are the champions, really, behind the Wainfleet Farmers Market. So can you tell us a little bit about what your past year has been like? You've been managing all kinds of changes within your workplace, making sure that you're still serving your customers in a safe way, but you also managed to carve out some time to make sure that the Wainfleet Market, Farmers Market, still happened. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, thanks, Dolores. So it's hard to believe it's been 15 months since March 2020. I remember just stuff slowly coming up about COVID early March. And we had an emergency meeting on the 13th, just before March break. And there was just this feeling that, with the premier encouraging people to travel on March break, that something was going to give at some point. And we actually, Meridian made a decision to close half the branch network when everyone came back home from March break traveling. So we were actually one of the closed branches because it is a small team of 7 here. But by no means are we really like a small business. So Meridian is the second largest credit union across Canada. So we had the resources to be able to properly plan and have, I was in meetings almost on a daily basis, and we centralized being able to acquire PPE and putting, we had a team in place that would read all of the fine print and the pivoting and changing rules on a daily basis. We weren't closed for very long in Wainfleet. We did have a partner branch that had a COVID case and had to close. I remember one night at 7 o'clock getting a phone call saying, do do you think the team can open a branch tomorrow morning? And we said, yeah, we're ready to go. You know, we had plexis in place. We had, you know, all the PPE gear and the wipes and the masks and everything was ready, the signage and stuff like that. The support from our corporate office is what really gave us an edge, as opposed to a small business that's really going at it alone. You know, that's one of the differences in terms of having a little bit more, being a bigger organization is that you have a little bit more pull in terms of organizing and getting product. And then that experience really allowed me to manage the branch at a much easier fashion, which kind of paved the way in terms of when June started to kick around. Early June is when we kind of started to talk about, you know, is there a way that we can pull off the market? And at that point, we sort of had our routine at the branch. And Judy is really the one who spearheads the market. I'm kind of following behind her in terms of just giving the support that she needs. But yeah, with our branch really well situated and kind of our routine in place in terms of being able to serve the membership and keeping them and our employees safe, we figured, you know what, as long as we have the vendors that are willing, all we need to do is figure out what are the rules around farmers markets. We know that the general rules in terms of businesses. So then it was, you know, Judy spearheaded working through the logistics and kind of gathering vendors and seeing what we can do and working with the township. That was incredibly supportive. And we really knew if we can try and get it done, it was super important to try and get some sort of something normal for the community. And then that's where really Judy stepped in and took it and ran with it and did a phenomenal job.
Oh, Judy, how did you do it?
Wow, thanks a lot, Dan, for your nice words. So last year it was kind of crucial for the market to continue. Like, we were a small market. We started out with 12 vendors. So I polled each of the vendors to see who would be willing to come back under the COVID restrictions. And out of the 12, we had 7 that said yes. So that was good enough. Then we decided we were going to roll with it. We registered with Farmers Market Ontario just to be listed in their, you know, listings of Ontario markets. And that we took advantage of the insurance for the vendors. So made it a little bit, you know, cheaper for them to register with us. We also had to get approval from public health. So I had to submit our setup map, location, and list of vendors that were going to be approved. So once we got that approval, then the town issued a news release. And from that news release that said we were going ahead, we attracted a few more vendors. So we started the season with 14 vendors, from 7 to 14. And then we ended with 24 vendors. So the township, they were very instrumental in getting the pavilion all set up with the one-way flow of traffic and one separate entrance, one separate exit. And we had our Meridian staff at the entrance monitoring one person per vendor. We had the shoppers all lined up 6 feet apart. They had to hand sanitize at the entrance and they had to wear masks. So it took off. We had a really good following. We had maybe 200 to 200 people, you know, on average each week come through the pavilion. So yeah, it's been great.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Dan, you made a point. You said, you know, it was important to provide the community with something that felt normal. And, you know, we don't really talk too much about the mental health aspect of this past year and a half, but doing something normal really goes a long way, you know, when you're in the middle of a crisis like this. So great job. Great job.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, you know what? It was interesting because when the market started, we didn't know under the circumstances how things would go, and you can see right away when people were coming and lining up, like standing 6 feet apart, and it was like, oh, hey, Joe, that people hadn't seen each other, on a face-to-face in so long, and you just can see that sort of like, oh, it's so nice to see you, and sometimes the jokes of, oh, I didn't recognize you, you got your mask on, kind of thing, and it just lit like it was kindling, and it lit like a big fire, like midway through the year. We had people coming from Hamilton and St. Catharines, and the word was out, and it was a great way for people to not just sort of have an opportunity to visually see each other aside from online and a phone call, but also to support local businesses, the local farmers. Eventually we got craftspeople in, and so it was nice to see. It was an opportunity for the community to come together, and it was a way for them to rally their own community.
Yeah, that's a great story. Mayor Gibson, how does that make you feel?
Oh, it's fantastic. And I think, well, Judy and Dan, of course, were the true authors of this happening. I think Judy may have understated the number of people we had. I thought, Judy, we were up in the 400 or 500 ranges some days.
Yeah, we did during our Christmas market. We had a great following.
Yeah, and the word is
it could
getting
be
out.
200 to 300 maybe for the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the word is getting out, and then of course it's one of those things that more people come, then more vendors want to come. More vendors come, then more people want to come, and it's really it's a great thing for Wainfleet. We're loving it. Last year was the pivotal year. Is it going to go or not go? Because the first two were okay, but they were just on the edge. But we've made it. Judy and Dan and all their staff and everybody has done a fantastic job of making it go. It's almost Judy's full-time job now at Meridian, I think. He's always working on it. And Dan, of course, being the great boss and making it all happen. So no, it's a wonderful thing. It's just back behind the arena, so it's not visible from the road. So that's one of the challenges we have, but it's in a fantastic location. It's covered if it rains, and we're really, really, really pleased about it. So it's going good, really good.
Yeah, and how fortunate, the township of Wainfleet has, great corporate citizens like Meridian, but regular citizens who are willing to, get out there, roll up their sleeves and just make it happen. You must have been seeing a lot of that during the pandemic.
Yeah, Wainfleet, and most municipalities are like this, but I can certainly attest, Wainfleet, the civic pride is huge in Wainfleet, and excuse me, just like Port Colborne is the same, but they love to support Wainfleet, and anything that we, Wainfleeters can do to help Wainfleeters is always front and center. So something like the market is really well supported. So excuse me.
Yeah, that makes me smile when I hear the term Wainfleeters.
Yeah, the fleeters.
The
Yeah.
fleeters, absolutely.
We actually have T-shirts, Wainfleet, and nothing sweeter than being a fleeter. Those old sayings have been around forever, but I have mine on my T-shirt on this morning. Nothing sweeter than being a fleeter. So.
Wow.
Yes.
Mayor Steele, what's your T-shirt say?
Depends which one I'm wearing that day, but our big ones here are participate. So that's big for Port Colborne. So yeah, but yeah. No, I know a lot of fleeters. I played some hockey in Wainfleet, went to senior public in Wainfleet where I lived growing up. I was right on the border of McKay and Willoughby Brown. So I went to Willoughby Brown. And
that is the beauty of small town, Ritesh. That is the beauty right there. You just witnessed it. Now, Mayor Steele, you've heard some interesting stories, some great development happening in Port Colborne, some great people doing some great work, young people. What do you think? How does this make you feel?
Well, no, it's great. Congratulations to Preston in getting involved with Broken Spoke. Good friend of mine, Aubrey Foley, who got that going and got into Port High. They actually received a big award my first year as mayor from the region with regards to the recycling side of life, and that was through the kids at Port High, staff there, and Aubrey. But Preston, and it just proves that you can volunteer for something and it can lead to a job. Now, whether it's a permanent job for the rest of his life, if he wants to become a bike mechanic and grow and own his own bike shop someday, or it gets him into something else that he really wants to do. So, we congratulate our young Blue Bears. Once a Blue Bear, always a Blue Bear. Remember that, Preston. That's my alma mater. So my other thing, Kevin, and by the way, Kevin, Ritesh is a RFA, restricted free agent. So there is a fee to discuss things. So when that fee is paid, Ritesh and I will find a great cause that we can donate that to. So
yeah, I've never recognized that sort of thing. So it's, no, and Ritesh isn't the only developer that we're dealing with. Port Colborne right now is quite honestly on a daily, our economic development staff are working with people that want to come to Port Colborne on the commercial side, like Ritesh, but also on the residential side. So we've got a couple of new subdivisions that are coming onto the market in the very near future. But developers like Ritesh. So now Ritesh is here. So we have to figure out how we can build Ritesh's business from where he is. No different than we do to our current commercial and retail and businesses in Port Colborne, where it's not only looking after somebody that's new coming into Port Colborne, but what can the city do for those that are already established here to help them grow, buy other properties. Ritesh and I not long ago took about an hour and a half tour of Port Colborne, looking at properties, both some municipal property we don't know a lot right now, but some private properties that we know about that either can come on the market or are on the market. So we've driven around with Ritesh for that. So those are things that we do. Ritesh works very closely with our planning and development departments with regards to what he's doing. But one thing Ritesh talked about, and it is important, and it's very important to me, and I campaigned on this when I became mayor. Kevin knows what I'm like with some of the things I do is partnerships. So we've created some partnerships with our fellow municipalities. Port Colborne, Wainfleet, Welland, Pelham, and Thorold signed a pact of the 5 municipalities working together to help mitigate costs and bulk buying and things like that. How we can work better together. It could be a planning issue, it could be a drainage issue, all those types of things. The same goes with our development community. You've got with Ritesh, we had the city of Port Colborne, we had the region, we had the Ministry of Transportation, and we had MPCA involved. So when you get 4 different levels of government, it's not like Ritesh was only going to deal with the city of Port Colborne. It's drawn in, and now all of a sudden you've got so many hands in that pot that things can go off the rail. And we know a couple things did with Ritesh, both under the previous administration here and then now with our current one. So we are always evolving here in Port Colborne how we can do things better for our development community, our business community, whether it's new or current, and basically to move forward so that it's as an easiest stream as possible, so that really when somebody walks into City Hall and says, hey, I just bought a piece of property, I'm thinking of doing this. So we can hand them some information. They can go away, look at it, come back to us for a pre-consultation. And then once they walk away from that, a lot of boxes are checked. However, there are going to be a bunch of boxes that everybody has to look after, like Ritesh may have to go to the ministry or the MPCA or whoever else it may be. Some things we can help with, some things we can't because it's not in our bailiwick. But Ritesh talks about things so that, so that every day as we move forward, that developers can have it where it's a lot more streamlined for them, because every day they spend doing paperwork or things like that, it's a loss of money to them. It's somebody not getting that job a lot sooner, as Ritesh talked about. And really, it's a tax payment that comes into the city of Port Colborne that helps us grow our tax base that doesn't get to us. Jobs are created when they are building the facility. So, a good friend of mine, Todd Schultz, his father was developer here, Lester Schultz Limited. We all know them and what they've done here. But he always said, you build something and you create a job. Really, it's 5 jobs that you're creating. It's 1 inside what you own. It's probably 4 to 5 outside of all the ancillary businesses that are now going to be developing along with you. So for every job Ritesh creates, that's 5 more jobs on the outside. Now, whether it's just in Port Colborne or it could be somebody in Wainfleet or wherever in Niagara. And Kevin and I talk about this a lot. Really, whatever is good for our communities is good for the whole of Niagara, and whatever is good for the whole of Niagara is good for Port Colborne. It's good for Wainfleet. So, we're trying to get that and work together a lot better, specifically at the regional level, which is, as Kevin and I know, can get pretty frustrating sometimes. But
you know, the whole idea is to do these partnerships so that when everybody comes to the table, we all know where our boundaries are, but how we can make something happen. And our planner, Dan Aquilino, when we first hired him, when I sat as a city councilor, was the fact that, you know, the rule says we really can't do this, but it's not etched in stone. So let's work on a way where we can do something, as opposed to telling everybody, sorry, we can't do that. You know, there are things that you just may never get done, but on the whole, on everyday business that goes on in our municipalities here, it can happen. Tweaks may have to be made. You know, the land mass may not be as big because of an NPCA issue or a Department of Highways issue, but things can happen, and we've really got to work ever so harder to make those things happen. So, you know, we thank Ritesh and his development here.
And Dolores, can I just chime in for a second? Bill's hit many really important points. As Ritesh was speaking, he said some things that really ring true with me for success. He was concerned about, first of all, the community. He was concerned about being part of the community, and putting roots down and looking after residents. Those, to me, that's kind of the formula that creates success. I honestly have seen before, the money will flow when those things are in place. But if you just come in and go, we got to get this business in here, make money, and you don't care about the local people, I don't think you do as well. And I think you really firstly need to become a citizen of the community. And once you become a citizen of the community, a genuine citizen of the community, and care about the residents and giving jobs and that, the business will flourish. And if it's the right business, there's other factors, of course, but and Ritesh was speaking in those words, and I was sitting here thinking, like, yes, he's got the right approach, because you must be a community citizen first to really truly be successful. And I think that, you know, years down the road, that is all going to come into place because it's being a good community citizen. So I just wanted to throw that little comment in. Thank you.
Yeah, great comments. We appreciate it. I'm going to go back to Kim now. We've talked about what the past year has been. We want to talk about the future now. How do you think childcare will change from this experience, Kim? What do you see happening?
I've thought about this question. I'm honestly, I don't know. It really depends on what's going to happen with the workforce and what we can do. Because we have ratios and all of the demands that we have. Obviously, we can't operate unless we have the educators to be able to operate our centers. There's a talk about the $10 a day childcare and what that's going to look like. I'm trying to be involved in that because I think we really, you know, it's important, but we need to do it right. Because if we don't do it right, it's not going to work. It's not going to be quality care for parents and children. So I'm really pushing for, we need the educators. We need to figure out how we're going to make this career a career choice for young graduates to be able to say, you know what, oh, I like children, so I'm going to go try that. You really need to push the career part of it, and it needs to be worthwhile for them to go into this position.
So what are they looking for? Like, what would entice someone to get into this as a career choice?
I think, and it's unfortunate, but I think the wages definitely are not there. For a child's world, we're about the middle of the road. You know, there's so many different agencies that can offer different wages and benefits and things like that. So, I mean, our agency, I don't feel as bad as, you know, is middle of the road for wages and for being able to offer them benefits. There's definitely, you know, the schools with early childhood educators in the schools now with the JK and SKs. We can't compete with them as far as what their wages are like and being able to have the summertime off. The region, we can't equal theirs as well. So we do our best. But again, right now with COVID, that's why I think we're seeing the resignations. And so we really need to work hard to make sure that One, the graduates are staying in Niagara. That's another thing. The graduates are not staying in Niagara. And then those that are getting eaten up by the agencies we're all desperate. It's not just a child's world. We're all desperate for educators. So yeah, I'm not sure what the future is going to hold. I mean, definitely childcare is around, will stay around, but it'll be interesting to see what the $10 a day childcare is going to look like in the future.
Mm-hmm. Why aren't they staying? Why aren't graduates staying in Niagara? Are there better opportunities outside of Niagara? Is that why they're leaving?
You know what? I don't know the answer to that question. I haven't been involved in finding out the answer to that as to why they're not staying.
Yeah, it seems like seniors care and child care have the same type of issues. And this is for a much deeper conversation at some point, maybe a podcast. We'll talk about that. Do you think that if people are working from home more moving forward, that will have an impact to childcare and to their needs?
It has to a certain point, but it's actually helped us because of our human resources and the guidelines that we have to follow for public health. So a center that would normally need, let's say, 5 staff, just as an example. Right now, we need 9 to 10 staff because we have the cohorts. They're not allowed to mix the children at the beginning and the end of the day. So previous to COVID, we would be able to mix, let's say, a kinder and a school age group. So kinder is kindergarten and school age group. We would be able to mix those two together at the beginning of the day, what we call a mixed ratio. And we could mix, a group of toddlers and preschool together, right? So we could start off with, 5 children. Right now, because of the cohorts, if you have 1 child in the toddler room, 1 child in the preschool room, 1 child in your kinder room, you have to have a staff for every one of those cohorts. Then you have to have cleaners and you have to have runners. And you have to have those cohorts covered at 7 a.m. and you also have to have them covered at 6 p.m. So you could have 5 staff if you have all 5 age groups, 5 staff till the end of the day if you have 1 child in each of those groups. So before, we used to be able to combine that and maybe have 2 staff at the end of the day. So big difference, and they're working 9, 10-hour days, and they're just exhausted.
Yeah, tough scenario. Thanks for that, Kim. Keeping an eye on the time, I promised you we would not go over an hour, so we're gonna go to Ritesh quickly. What's happening in the future? What else are you gonna be doing in Port Colborne and maybe Wainfleet? Tell us.
Anything and everything which Kevin and Bill wants us to do. I mean, as I said previously, we are anyways looking at newer opportunities, whether it's residential, industrial, commercial. I think for Port Colborne, we have some on the plate already. As I said, we are starting off an industrial condo project. We have phase 2 to finish. We are also looking at one residential development as we speak. So, I mean, anything which presents an opportunity, as I rightly said in the beginning as well, whatever we feel will give us some satisfaction in terms of change which we want to bring in. I mean, like Kim was talking about, she doesn't have an answer that why, graduates are leaving, Niagara region. I was one day having a discussion with one federal minister, and we were talking about the same thing, like 70-80% of the immigrants, when they come from India, China, or all these places, they get settled either in Toronto, GTA, or they go to Vancouver on the West Coast. So and I said, it's not difficult to dissect what the problem is. Like when a person can come from 7 oceans far, like India or China, for them traveling another 200 miles is not difficult at all, as long as you present them opportunities. I mean, like all people want is a decent job, place where they can go on weekend to eat, shop, or do whatever they want to do. That's about it. And I think Niagara region has such great potential when it comes to so many things you can do. You can buy a house for fraction of a price. I mean, like end of the day, whether somebody is working in Tim Hortons in GTA or in Port Colborne, they're getting paid similar kind of money, right? So it doesn't matter. So I think it's all about creating that opportunities for local people, and that will automatically, like, Niagara College has so many Indian students. Why do they need to go elsewhere or run to Brampton if they would be paying $1,800 to live in a basement? And whereby in Port Colborne, they could do the same in $800, making the same amount of money. It's not rocket science to figure out why people are leaving. It's just that it does not present enough economic opportunities. So as long we all work on creating those opportunities for people to stay back, I mean, I think there is greater advantage for young graduates to stay in Niagara region than going out, looking for things in downtown Toronto or Brampton, Mississauga, and all these places. So it's not like difficult to figure out. I mean, I'm more than happy to sit down with Kevin, Bill, or whosoever in Niagara region, and we can take some small baby steps. I mean, it's all about creating that vibe and environment that this is the place to come, do business, grow yourself, and automatically, things will start to fall in place. It's not difficult at all. I mean, we've seen that in Port Colborne. Similar thing can happen in Wainfleet. We are seeing a lot of stuff happening in Welland as well. But here I would like to say, like, what feedback I get from a lot of people, developer friends, Welland is very, very, very investor friendly. I mean, I don't know why. I mean, I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to pick a project in Welland to experience that firsthand. But like a lot of people tell me, you go to Welland to do something, it's like piece of cake. You will have everything in 3 months. We did one project in Niagara Falls. It was also quicker, like 7 months from the day we put a site plan to building permits in my hand. 7 months, and they were on top of it. Like, we would make a submission, they would be chasing us, they would be chasing my consultants. Certain cities, we keep chasing, nothing happens. But I think it's all about, and I think Mayor Steele's, I mean, I've seen the difference, the new economic development team and all the folks at the city hall. I mean, they are getting there. I mean, like, response time is, like while we were talking, I had sent a message. I see there is a reply already from their economic development team. So they are on top of things. I think that's all we need to do. And, economic opportunities will be created once we set the stage for developers or people to come invest. And, that will make people stay. I mean, you have better chances than anyone else for people to stay here than go.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I think your phone is going to be ringing off the hook. We're all going to want to pick that brain a little bit more. So thank you so much, Ritesh. Preston, what does the fall? Well, first of all, what's your summer like? And then what are your plans for the fall?
Okay, so my summer, I'll be working all summer, playing golf, kind of just enjoying it.
Good for
Then
you.
so obviously I'm in grade 11. I won't be going to school, like I'll be just going to high school still. But I'll still be working. I'm still gonna continue with the bike shop program, because might as well. It's a great program. We do great things. And yeah, that's how my fall is gonna go.
Well, that sounds like a great fall. It sounds great. And any plans for the following year? Any ideas as to what you might like to do after high school? Oh, you're on mute. There you go.
Sorry. To be honest, I honestly don't quite know yet.
To be young, right? Not to have a plan. Sounds good. Well, good for you, Preston. Dan and Judy, what do you see moving forward with the Wainfleet Farmers Market? Where are you at this year?
So this year we started just 2 weeks ago. We started with 15 vendors, being essential farmers and food vendors. So next week we're allowed to add in our crafter and our retail vendors. We've added a few new farmers, and we have a winery, and we have a cider vendor interested. He's just got to get his insurance in order. And we're looking for craft beer vendor and a few more fruit farmers. But our hope is just to attract more vendors, and maybe once COVID is over, we can expand to the whole pavilion and maybe even outdoor spots for vendors. So,
wow, that's great. You had me at wine vendor.
Yeah, well, Megalomaniac is out, so.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah.
Dan, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, just that the Wainfleet market is Wednesdays from 2:30 to 6 o'clock. So right now, full COVID rules in effect. There's only so many people in the pavilion allowed, and masks are still mandatory for now. But you know, hopefully with some light cascading through the tunnel, we'll get to some more freedoms as we move forward in time.
Well, yeah, we will. And today's, patio time for folks. So we are on the road to recovery. Fingers crossed. That's great. Thank you. Thank you to all of you for sharing your stories. It's been such a great conversation. As I mentioned in my opening comments, this year we're not going to be presenting individual awards like we typically do. Instead, we really want to recognize both the communities of Port Colborne and Wainfleet as a whole. This past year, we got through one of the most challenging times of our lives because we looked out for each other. We worried about each other. We took the extra time to check in and to support one another. And in this spirit, we'd like to present both Mayor Steele and Mayor Gibson a token of our community's resiliency with the support of our sponsors, Desjardins, Durwood Jones Barkwell and Company, and B4 Networks. We'll be donating a tree, a symbol of strength, to both of the communities. We'll work with your parks departments to pick the right type of tree and to determine when and where to plant it. We'll also have a placard that will be attached somehow to the tree, and it'll have a quote by the Dalai Lama. The quote will read, "It is under the greatest adversity that there exists the greatest potential for doing good, both for oneself and others." We believe that this quote truly embodies what we've seen this past year. So at this point, like I said, the mayors usually have the last word. We'll go back to both of you for just some brief closing comments. And Mayor Steele, we'll start with you.
Thanks, Dolores, and thanks to the Chamber of Commerce and somebody that's been a member for a long time. We do appreciate everything that you guys do for our business community. Thanks to the other panelists. Great, as you said, great conversation. And Kevin and I will keep working very hard for everybody up in the region, and as well as working together between our own municipalities for the betterment of our residents. But one thing I'd like to throw out there is that we are starting today. It was announced this morning. It's called Sip, Shop, and Support Local. And Port Colborne is running a Facebook contest. So if you go sip a craft beer downtown Port Colborne that's brewed right here, or a coffee on West Street, or go to a retail store, any other restaurant, you put a picture on Facebook with it and put a little comment. You can win a gift certificate to any retailer in Port Colborne. So that's important, getting our businesses back going after the 15 months of, well, you can't say HE double toothpicks on, on this. So we all know what it's been like. Yeah, I think everybody's clamoring to get out this weekend and kind of letting loose a bit, I would think, because, being cooped up for this long. And again, thank you. And to the Wainfleet market, just like ours, we do have restrictions, but our BIA has now taken over our market here in Port Colborne, and we're up to 34 vendors now. So, and we run Friday mornings like ever. So congratulations on the Wainfleet market. I'll have to get out there, and like Ritesh, we'll spread the good word on development in Port Colborne and keep working with people just like Ritesh here in our great city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Steele. Mayor Gibson?
Thank you very much, Dolores. And I want to thank all the panelists. Excellent conversation. We should do this more often. Bill's program, congrats on that. I may have to find my way over there for a cup of coffee, and maybe I'll win and take some of your money away from you. It's always interesting in Wainfleet. I love to always promote our agriculture as well. I see Dan just sent out a little message there that Breakwall Brewery is using Wainfleet hops. And we do have a budding hops business here in Wainfleet. And it's an excellent climate for it. And there's some more agricultural base that we can be expanding. As I'm also love to say that our, everybody in Niagara, when they talk agriculture, they always talk wine, and we all love wine, but we also all love our bacon and eggs for breakfast. And our bacon and eggs just about always come from Wainfleet. Not far away is 160,000 chickens that lay eggs every day, and the number of hog farmers in that too. So Wainfleet contributes to the success of Niagara in many ways. And a lot of those ways are taken for granted because they're, it's just every day your bacon and eggs and your hops and that sort of thing. But we are a good contributor to the success of the Niagara region and South Niagara as well. So in closing, thank you very much, Dolores. Excellent forum here today, and our market is rocking and rolling. Dan gave you the hours. Everybody come on out and give it a try. So thank you very much.
Fantastic. Well, once again, thank you so much to our panelists for sharing your stories. Thank you to both of our mayors for demonstrating strong leadership when we needed it the most. And thank you to everyone who joined us today. Stay safe, have a wonderful day, and hit a patio today. Today's your day. Enjoy.